Now to the Menendez brothers case, we're hearing new audio of them speaking from behind bars as the Los Angeles District Attorney says he'll review new evidence while considering resentencing the brothers.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're breaking down the legal saga of the Menendez brothers, including new evidence that may see the brothers walk free.
Nobody wanted to believe me. It was a culture of silence, and that culture of silence existed up until the 90s.
Before anything, an introduction to the twisted world of the Menendez brothers. On August 20th, 1989, Lyle and Eric Menendez returned to their Beverly Hills home from a trip to the movies and the Taste of LA festival. What they found was an unthinkable horror. They found their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, brutally slain in their living room. At least that's what they wanted people to believe had happened.
We're really gonna do this? Yeah.
In reality, the Menendez boys, in response to what they claim was years of torture and abuse on their parents' part, had taken their parents' lives themselves. They were able to disguise this fact until early 1990, when a guilt-stricken Eric confessed his and Lyle's heinous crime to Dr. L. Jerome Oziel, a therapist who had been hired by Jose.
How can I make you feel better, Eric?
I came here so that you tell me I'm not a bad person. Tell me I'm not a bad person.
You killed your mom and dad, Eric.
Oziel, fearing the repercussions of treating patients such as Eric and Lyle, convinced the brothers to allow themselves to be recorded as a means of, quote, insurance.
In the early fall of 1988, did you begin seeing Eric and Lyle Menendez relating to incidents which occurred in Calabasas in which the defendants were involved?
Yes, I did.
The therapist foolishly spilled the beans to Judalon Smith, his mistress. When the doctor refused to leave his wife for Smith, she used his secret against him. This meant informing the police that, among other allegations of misconduct, he was in possession of material that incriminated the Menendez brothers for their parents' murder. Lyle and Eric, who had posited that their father was murdered in cold blood by one of his so-called, quote, business enemies, or even the mafia, were arrested on March 8th and 11th of 1990, respectively.
Hey, Mafia, after what we've been through, I'd like to see you try.
Okay.
Is that a threat?
Okay, come on.
Your target's okay. We're getting you full-time security, 24/7, okay?
Oziel has claimed that the brothers directly threatened his life, which did violate doctor-patient confidentiality, and as such, his recordings were mostly admissible as evidence.
Were you happy about what you had done?
No, it was beginning to hit me what I had done when I went back to the house that night, and I couldn't accept that.
My question was, were you happy about it?
No, I was not happy.
When their court case finally kicked into action after having been delayed for 2 years, Lyle and Eric Menendez also faced an entirely different kind of trial. That is, in the court of public opinion. Via the nascent Court TV, totally flipped expectations on their head.
He proceeded to indicate to me by touching himself down and saying that his dad and him had been touching each other down there.
General public sentiment regarding the brothers was largely unfavorable, with skeptics claiming that the Menendez brothers appeared smug and arrogant in court. They also pointed to their $700,000 spending spree after their parents' murder as proof of their status as spoiled rich kids, only in it for the substantial inheritance they stood to receive.
And as far as transportation goes?
Well, you have the limousine.
Right, but for both of us.
You're asking for a second limousine?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That all changed, however, when Lyle Menendez took the witness stand. His moving testimony, detailing a lifetime's worth of severe mental, emotional, and physical abuse from his father Jose, was a game changer for him and Eric. Leslie Abramson's legal defense strategy, which had initially seemed like a long shot, paid off. For a moment. The result was a, quote, hopelessly deadlocked jury, as described by Judge Stanley Weisberg, and a mistrial was declared as a result. The brothers' legal defense was completely thrown out the window by 2 rules that were implemented for their second trial. 1, the media was banned from the courtroom, and 2, claims and discussion of the aforementioned abuse were heavily restricted. Lyle and Eric were both sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, having been spared the death penalty.
When the judge decided what evidence we could consider, we were given either first-degree murder as an option or no crime whatsoever. We voted unanimously to convict.
Much to Eric and Lyle's shock and dismay, they were separated after their 1996 sentencing and didn't see each other for well over 20 years.
that I could not protect him. I just felt no peace, like a part of me was just across the state.
That is, until 2018, when Lyle was transferred to the same prison as Eric. The former was moving from Mule Creek State Prison to the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility. The brothers shared a predictably emotional reunion, having kept in touch for their entire respective terms in prison. They had, of course, managed to keep busy in the interim. Lyle had been married, divorced, and then married again, and Eric had married in 1999.
I feel like I've known you forever, Eric, and that I'm going to know you for the rest of my life. All my love.
Tammy.
Over time, the case went from trial of the century to an historical footnote, having already been overshadowed by the O.J. Simpson murder case by this point.
O.J. suddenly, took over all of the media. O.J. was Menendez on steroids.
While Lyle and Eric had resigned themselves to quiet lives in prison, new developments were still to come. In 2018, Eric's aunt discovered a letter that Eric had written to his cousin back in 1988. The letter details Eric's fear of his father and a history of abuse. Then, in May 2023, came another bombshell. Jose Menendez, born in 1944, was an accomplished businessman, having held high-ranking executive positions at corporations like Hertz Global Holdings and RCA Records. In his professional capacity at RCA, Lyle and Eric's father was instrumental in signing the enormously popular Puerto Rican boy band Menudo to the record label.
Menudo por todos lados, por todas partes. Los quiero en la máquina de Coca-Cola, en la fiambrera, los juguetes. Menudo va a ser el grupo más grande del mundo.
While this factoid mostly went unnoticed throughout the Menendez brothers' trial, it came to light in 2023 when Roy Rosselló, a Menudo member, publicly accused the late Jose of having assaulted and drugged him at 14 years of age. Upon learning this, Lyle and Eric filed paperwork to request a new hearing, which would ostensibly prove the brothers' claims of abuse at Jose's hands.
This is done. This is done. You understand? No more between you two. And you are never to touch him. Not ever.
However, nothing would come of the Menendez brothers' filing until over a year later. Just a few weeks prior, Ryan Murphy's Monsters, the Eric and Lyle Menendez story, debuted on Netflix.
Hey, OJ? OJ?
Yeah, who is that?
I'm Eric Menendez.
The ubiquitous showrunner followed up on the smash success of the first season of its true crime anthology series Monster, which explored the life and crimes of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer with a Menendez-inspired follow-up. Much like the show's Dahmer season, Monsters was a colossal hit for the streaming giant, quickly rising to the top of Netflix's top 10 most watched films. This, coupled with a grassroots TikTok following for the brothers, significantly reignited public interest in the case, as well as sympathy and outrage on the brothers' behalf.
Nobody wanted to believe me. It was a culture of silence. And that culture of silence existed up until the 90s.
In what must have been a strange feeling of déjà vu for those who had followed the Menendez case, Lyle and Eric were back in the news for the first time since 1996.
Now to the Menendez brothers case, we're hearing new audio of them speaking from behind bars, as the Los Angeles District Attorney says he'll review new evidence while considering resentencing the brothers.
After a massive wave of support for the brothers grew after Netflix's Monsters, LA District Attorney George Gascon's office confirmed that they were reviewing the Menendez brothers' application for a new hearing, set for November 26, 2024. Said the DA, quote, "We are not at this point ready to say that we either believe or do not believe that information. But we're here to tell you that we have a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us."
We're not saying that there was anything wrong with the original trial. We have been given evidence.
While Eric Menendez had originally released a statement condemning Murphy's Monsters miniseries, one has to wonder if his meetings with Cooper Koch and Kim Kardashian have swayed his opinion.
Kim saw the show and she loved it, and she became very interested in the case, and she called me and told me she loved the show, and then was like, do you want to come with me? And I was like, yes.
What did you think of the Netflix documentary The Menendez Brothers? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.
I went to TikTok and found thousands of videos. Most of them are becoming very well educated on the case.